Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 67 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. It was a fun one, so let's get into it. I will give my thoughts on it more at the end. We start in the Grey Valley. The party have just finished a short rest after a hard fight and are ready to continue looking for the blue flowers and the missing Ashari. FCG asks Orym how he's doing with everything, Keyleth being injured and coming back home. Orym deflects the question and asks how everyone else is doing. FCG then puts it back on to Orym and asks if Orym will stay with the Ashari once they finish here. Orym says he's not done with the party quite yet and what they're doing, and says it was hard to see Keyleth the way she was. She always seemed invincible and so strong. The party talk about Keyleth for a bit and about her youthful look. Orym says that was from her Aramente, and that's how she became as strong as she is. The party suggests Orym go on an Aramente. He says that he can't really do that. It was more part of her story. They then talk about how Laudna seems to be glowing, very happy right now. Her and Imogen talk some stuff out, and she apologizes for her outburst about the other party having a not-so-hard time while they were separated. Everyone else seems to be good right now in a mental space, including Ashen, who seems to be in a very good spot. The party talk about how they don't really know what the next step will be. FCG asks if they're going to be helping the gods or not. Imogen says they will. FCG doesn't want to push that on anyone. Imogen then says they need to stop Predathos and lewdness, and that means saving the gods. Many people rely on them. They need their help, and they need to help them. Chenny says they don't need to save them, and some of the party agree. They take a poll. One person is for the gods, and everyone else is very unsure. Ashen abstains from voting. They're still kind of unsure about if they're unsure on things. Laudna tells the party Ashen came from a cult. Ashen doesn't know much about it. They were very young at the time. There was a big explosion and they were thrown elsewhere and they saw their parents get ripped apart. This was their first memory. The party asks about where they ended up. They ended up in Marquette, a different continent altogether. Ashen says they don't know a lot about where they came from. They might have been 7 or 8, in their own words, which seems a little old to be having their first memory, unless everything else was super repressed, which wouldn't shock me. Laudna says the Archdruid that helped them get back to the group told them about the cult, and that they gave themselves the name the Hishari after the Ashari, and the Grouge Ashari. Ashen says the reason they joined the group was because they heard Orym mention the Ashari. They know their parents are for sure dead, and they don't know anyone else that was a part of the group to contact. FCG says that Ashen should go to the gods for help and finding a path and answers. Ashen says they're finding themselves answers without the gods. They don't need them. Imogen says they know lewdness is evil and Predathos is evil. Chetney suggests that Predathos might not be totally evil, he might just have a bad rap. FCG says they don't know what will happen to Imogen if they kill Predathos. This leads FCG to worry about themselves and Frida if other gods were to die. What happens to them? Maybe they're linked to the gods somehow. Fern asks why Ashen hates parents so much. They say they like Fern's parents, well, mainly her Nan. They think most parental figures have a bad track record and prefer found families more, like the one they're currently in. The party choose to head out. The area around them is shale and dead, no paths to guide them, and there's a bunch of rolling hills and cracks of mud. FCG and Imogen lead. Fern casts guidance on FCG. FCG rolls a natural 20 survival check to lead them. Orym rolls perception check to look for monsters, which was also really high. With that natural 20, FCG guides the party away from any ambush-looking spots as they travel, and they also see no major enemies that catches FCG's eyes. Orym sees off in the distance wisps going through the trees that look like soldiers running towards each other. It's a creepy glance into the history of this area. They see more flying creatures hunting, but they're able to avoid them as they travel. Eventually, the party begin to smell something burning. It seems to be coming from the south of them. Laudna sends Pate to check it out, but with a perception check of 11, he doesn't find anything. Laudna thinks she needs to find a familiar with eyes, with actual eyes. FCG suggests that they're dead. Maybe they can just add some eyes to them. Put some in. That sounds gross. He comes back if that was any use to them. Pate, or Laudna bluntly says no, and the party pushes on. The smell continues to catch their noses, and eventually they come to a crevasse. There's a building built into the side of it, and the smell seems to be coming from there. The party talk about taking a look at it. Fern says she has a spyglass to use that she stole from Xandis that she can look from a distance with. Orym comes clean and says that he stole it back for them and gave it back to Xandis. Fern is both upset and proud by this. Orym is going to go scout out ahead and ask Fern to cast guidance on them, but she doesn't, but he still rolls a 26. He doesn't see any blue color, so it doesn't seem to be any flowers nearby. He recalls that the flowers don't just grow anywhere, but in places with very deep curses. Imogen says they should check it out. Mat explains this location was the last battle of Dressig versus Zan Teldore. Dressig made a deal with a demon or a devil, and using that power, they changed the landscape forever. However, he still lost. The party choose to stealth up to the structure together, but there's 3 natural ones, a single natural 20 from FCG, 26 from Orym, and a 14 from Fern. This was not a good roll, set at all. One of the worst stealths they've ever had, with Pass Without a Trace up. This was awful. The party hear a shriek from behind them, and a tree is blown to pieces behind them. 2 large bird-like creatures circle the party. The party are half a mile from the structure still. Orym yells to scatter. Chetney turns into a werewolf. FCG casts Spirit Guardians for the first time in this campaign by the sounds of things. And they are sheets of glass because birds hate glass. One of the birds dives towards FCG. It enters the Spiritual Guardian range and takes some damage from it. As this thing gets closer, they can see that it has mild human-like features to it, like fingers, and have other messed up features as well. Definitely not natural. It's at this point we learn these are Vroks. It goes to attack FCG but misses, and is pushed out of the range and flies up again. Imogen casts Catapult on a rock and throws it towards one of the Vroks. Rocks to Vrok. Dex save of 14 fails the roll. It takes 22 damage from this. The other one moves in to attack Imogen. Orym baits and switches. Ashen is waiting for it to get close, but as it gets into range, it stops abruptly and then begins to screech. Saves from Ashen, Imogen, and Orym. Orym and Ashen successfully save, but Imogen fails and falls to her knees from the scream. Ashen rages and runs toward the bird. They jump and swing for the bird and hit for 23 damage. It fails a strength save and is pushed back 10 feet. Chetney ignites his claws and runs up past the tree, setting it on fire, and then grabs one of the birds. With an 18 athletics check, he succeeds in grappling it. The other bird goes for Chetney, but misses their first attack, and the second attack crits, but Laudna silvery barbs it, making it reroll for a 21, which still hits. Laudna then Eldritch Blast the flying one, who just attacked Chetney, and it's split in 2, and the 2 halves turn to black ash. Fern runs up and casts Burning Hands on the one Chetney is holding, and this also hits Chetney. Chetney saves, the bird doesn't. Fern deals 19 damage to it. Chetney takes 9. Chetney is still holding it. FCG walks up to it and casts Speak with Animals and asks for where the nether lilies are. At this point, I'd like to point out that every time they make a joke about the flowers, because Matt had a word slip last time, which was very bad for him. Every time they make a joke about these flowers, Matt seems to be checking off something on his board behind the DM screen, which we will eventually learn what happens with that. The Vrok then screams again. It stuns FCG and Fern. Imogen grabs it and casts Shock and Grasp, killing the Vrok. It burns away like the other one did. Ashen looks for more threats. He hears another screech off in the distance. The party choose to book it toward the structure. 2 more Vroks go to where the party just battled but they luckily don't see the party and seem to be distracted by the burning tree. The party slow a bit as they are now a quarter mile from the structure. It looks like a fort, and it looks like it was recently damaged. It also looks like it was much more recently built than most of the area around them. Seems newer than the damage to the entire area. It does not look Ashari. The burning smell is from here, and it smells like burning hair or burning people. The party are still looking for Bernie and the other scouts of the Ashari. They could be in there. Lana says she can take 5 people above the fort as it's built into the side of the crevasse, so there's an area above it, and they could jump down into it with Featherfall. Orm rolls a history check, and Chetney has a new ability to help them learn things about the area, so he does as well. With a 24 from Orm and a natural 20 from Chetney, they recall the Eerie Dun Bastion was built here by the Temple of the Platinum Dragon, and is meant to be an early warning system against abyssal incursions. Using his Bloodhunter ability, Chetney can see the events of what happened here. He hears screaming, and the tower falls, and this seems to be a few days ago. Eventually, the screams peter out as the vision ends. FGG points out the Platinum Dragon is a god, so they should help. The party wonder if the reason it fell was due to the lack of God's influence right now. Imogen doesn't think they can beat it if it took out an army. FGG says they're just looking for the flowers in Orm's sister, so they should at least take a look. The party wonder if this place is unique. There are many places like this around the world to protect against other realms' invasions, so it's not terribly unique. The party take another stealth check. This one is much better. Everyone rolls above 20 this time. They expertly move toward the fort. They choose to split the party. Fern, Chetney, and FCG stay down into the crevasse, while Ashton, Orm, Imogen, and Laudna go up above the fort. Pate stays with Chetney. Starting with the climbing team, they make their way up. Orm peeks over. It's about 100 feet to the base of the crevasse. The cliff is not sheer. It is a small fortress, more like an outpost. A 20 perception check. It definitely looks like the aftermath of a battle. There's blood and limbs all over the place, and some heads seem to be on spikes. Many imps and demons are moving about. Furniture has been pulled out from the interior. There's dark figures moving around. Laudna tells Pate what they see, and to tell the others. There's also a handful of tall demon warriors here, keeping watch and looking around. There's 3 metal cages. There seem to be humanoid captives in them. There's a large glowing platform with a demonic circle on it. Figures are drawing on it, which is not good. They seem to be preparing something. The highest part of the roof is about 60 feet up. Matt pulls out a map, and it's a sick looking map. Orm sees another creature approaching. It's airborne. Seems to have somewhat humanoid features, and eventually it lands in the center of the fort. It's 13 feet tall and walks very oddly. It starts barking orders and takes out a beautiful looking sword that clearly isn't their own. The party don't understand it, as none of them speak Abyssal. Ashton says there may be more inside the actual fort. The ground team was able to sneak up close enough. FCG casts Tongues and hears what the big one is saying. Now, Tongues, actually, I'm pretty sure Tongues doesn't do this, but who cares? Tongues allows you to speak the language, so understanding it, to me, makes a little bit of sense. The big demon says, I must feed, prepare, and then we celebrate. Orm can't tell if there's a Shari here or not. FCG tells Pate the demons are going to eat soon, and Pate relays this message. Orm asks how many, or how they're going to get down there. Laudna says it's best to not go straight into a fight. They should try to take one out one by one. FGG says that they can distract for the other group to get down. Fern is looking out for this group. She's on lookout. 28 perception. She sees the blood and the black ash from demons who were here before. It seems this fight was not one-sided. The demons definitely had some casualties. Fern sees one of the watching demons turns his head as if it hears something. Fern watches as a hand grabs the demon and pulls it into a small alcove shadow. There's a flash of fire, and then the demon tries to flee, but it's grabbed again and then is never seen again. A figure emerges from the alcove, and it seems to be a humanoid with red skin and horns, and with gray hair that looks like a lion's mane. It has dark clothes and folded leathery wings. Fern informs the others of this. Imogen looks to see if she can see this figure, but doesn't. The ground team are gonna make a distraction. Fern then just out of nowhere yells help. All the demons turn toward her scream. Imogen casts static. I hope I said that right. All the demons inside the area fail, and they take 33 damage. 2 of their heads explode. Well, the bigger one of the two, or of the group there, falls to the ground in pain. The 13-foot tall one tells the others to go toward the scream and to bring it back. Some smaller demons begin to move toward the noise. The climbing team run and jump off the cliff. Laudna takes the form of Dread, and Orym does a long jump and takes a big arc. They need stealth checks. Laudna 21, Imogen 19, Orym 22, and Ashen a natural 1. Laudna casts Featherfall. Ashen's natural 1 pushes a rock down. The 13-foot tall demon sees the rock land and looks up, but the party have made their leap over top of it out of its vision already. Acrobatic checks for the landing. Imogen and Laudna land fine. Orym, of course, lands fine. Ashen looks like he's going to miss, so he clicks the button on the hammer, which stops him in place. I knew it was the goddamn immovable rod. That's excellent. They try to throw themselves and click the button at the same time so they can land on the roof with everyone else. With a 24 athletics check, they're able to land on the tower with the cage. And says, that's how it's done, fuckers. 2 flying demons have their swords drawn out, going towards Fern. FCG casts command to mime on both the demons, and they both fail, and they both drop their weapons. One is in a box, and one is getting blown by the wind. Fern and FCG run to the red-skinned figure they saw before. Chetney stays behind to fight the 2 demons. He takes out Turmoil. The 2 demons... Fern and FCG make it halfway up the cliff to see where the creature, or where the figure was before, and the 2 demons stop miming and pick up their swords. It's time to roll initiative. Initiative rolls are Orym 24, Laudna 22, Fern 21, FCG 19, Imogen 18, Chetney 14, and Ashen 13. Orym is first. He runs along the wall to the demon near him that was affected by the mind blast from Imogen. In the cage, he sees a woman in armor, all chained up, and a gnome in Tempest Blade wear. He runs and stabs the demon, hitting it for 9 damage, and then hits it again for 9 more damage and lands in front of him. He meets the red eyes of the demon. Laudna is up. She looks at the cage for a lock. It has a lock, and she tries to pick it. A dex roll of natural 20 for 22. She picks it, and the people inside are absolutely terrified of her, as she is in her form of Dread. Fern is up. She continues to run towards the shadows where the figure was before. She sees glowing eyes that ask who she is. She says that they are friendly and they're not with the demons. Persuasion roll of fucking 30. Fern is very convincing. The being steps forward from the alcove and says that they aren't friends, but they aren't enemies. Mr. Still with Chetney throws a flaming seed at one of the demons, dealing 3 damage, which was likely halved to 1. The one that was hit sees Fern and FCG running up the cliff. FCG is up. They nod to the devil guy that they just met. FCG then moves back down and gives Chetney a bonded blessing. FCG rolls up and casts Toll the Dead on the same demon that Mr. just hit. Wisdom save of 9, so it fails, taking 18 damage. Imogen is now up. She casts Minute Meteors and throws 2 of them at the demon in front of Orym. Dex save natural 1 for 9 damage. It was fire damage, so it was also likely halved. She then throws another. It fails again for another 9 damage. Probably halved, so a total of 9 maybe. The devil guy is up. He pulls out his blade. It has a bright light to it. and with his blade he flies down to the demons near Chetney. He deals 27 damage to it with his first hit, and then for the second hit he deals 33 damage, and he casts Divine Smite for 24, which is a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. The demon is, however, still standing. These are some beefy motherfuckers. Chetney is up. Chetney puts a blood curse on the one they haven't hit yet. Chetney then rushes the one that's been taking a beating, and then using Turmoil deals 17 more damage. This kills the demon, turning it to ash like the other Vrock from before. Chetney then moves to the other one, dealing 20 damage to it. He then moves to a better position so that the devil guy can get advantage next turn. Ashton is up. They see the people in the cages are cuffed. They then rage and jump down, taking 3 damage from the little bit of a drop they took. He then takes the opposite side of the demon, then Orym, to get advantage. Hitting the first swing for 23 damage. They go for a second hit, dealing 18 more damage with that. It's now the demon's turn. Everyone in their mind here is welcome. Glad you could join the feast. This comes from the big 13-foot tall one. He then begins to shimmer and vanishes and joins the fight on the tower. He lands on top of the cage, crushing it a little bit and scaring the people inside. He's right next to Laudna and Imogen. The front door of the fort bursts open, and another demon enters the fight and flies towards FCG. One hits Chetney twice, dealing 11 damage total. The demon on the tower misses both strikes against Orym, and then doesn't save from Imogen's spell from earlier. An imp flies up to the top of the tower, and one imp on the ground goes invisible. The one on the top of the tower screeches at Orym for a wisdom save. He rolls a 16, so he saves. Orym is now up. Orym slashes the big demon in front of him. He hits for 7 damage, and again for 10. Orym then runs and springs toward Imogen and does a bait and switch, adding 8 AC to her AC. Not 18, that would be insane. As he leaves the demon's range, it swings for him, but it misses. Laudna is up. She pulls open the door to the cage to let the prisoners out. She then quickens spells and casts Mirror Image on herself. She then goes inside the cage and casts Ray of Frost on the cuffs on the female soldier, dealing 10 damage to the cuff and 5 damage to the woman. The woman then smashes the cuffs, breaking free. Fern is up. She casts Scorching Ray on the closest demon. One of them on the closest demon and 2 of them on the one near Chet, hitting all 3, dealing 3 damage on the first one and 5 damage on the second one. She calls Mr. to her, and as Mr. moves, he throws more shit, his flaming seed, towards the demon near Chetney for 8 more damage. FCG is up. They cast command again to betray. The demon fails. The demon looks towards the big, tall demon. FCG then moves past the demon towards the others, moving out of the rage of the demon. This counts as betrayal as it didn't end up taking an opportunity attack, so it ends the command. Imogen is up. She looks at the big demon and casts Lightning Bolt right in his face. He fails, taking 20 damage, but probably half that. She then sends more of her meteors towards the imp on the wall, dealing 1 damage. She then sends another one, dealing 1 more damage. So 2 damage total. The devil guy is up. He joins Chetney, swings twice, hitting both, dealing 30 damage on the first hit and then 26 damage on the second hit. Chetney asks what his name is. He looks at Chetney and tells him to do your part. Good name. Chetney is up. He attacks twice on the demon, hitting both attacks. 19 damage from the first one, 19 damage from the second one. He also used his blood curse from earlier as that demon took 2 actions, or 2 attacks, which is how the curse works. He then renews the curse on the demon again. Ashen is up. They continue to swing on the demons in front of them, hitting both attacks for 19 and 17 damage, killing this demon, turning it to ash. He then rushes the imp, but can't do anything with that. The demons are now up again. The big one begins to spark as lights begin to burst from it. Imogen, Laudna, and Orym must make wisdom saves. Laudna is immune to fear, and the others save. The demon then unleashes on Imogen, hitting all 3 attacks, even with the +8 AC. The first hit deals 32 fucking damage. The second one deals 14, and the last one deals 13. This nearly takes out Imogen, and Laudna screams no, seeing this. The one near Do Your Part hits him twice. In doing so, activates Chetney's curse, killing the creature from within. One demon moves near FCG and slashes them for 10 more damage. The imp in front of Ashen then turns invisible. The other imp then reappears near FCG and screeches, but FCG saves against this wisdom save, and it begins to fly away. The party can hear people yelling for help inside the cages. Orym leaps down and grabs the leg, or leaps up and grabs the leg of the big demon and swings for its arm. He goes for disarming attacks while doing this, dealing 13 on the first one. He goes for another slash at it but misses. The first one didn't successfully disarm. He action surges, hits the third attack, goes for a disarming strike again, but it saves, and then Orym does 12 more damage. The fourth hit crits, dealing 20 damage, and it is also a disarming attack. This time the blade falls from the hand of the demon and falls back down toward the center of the tower. Orym then jumps back down and bait and switches with Imogen again, adding 9 AC this time. Laudna's up. She grabs the cage and casts Shocking Grasp on it, but unfortunately misses. She does it again and misses again. This thing cannot be hit by Shocking Grasp for some reason. Laudna then runs to Imogen and pushes her off the tower. They both begin to fall. The big demon goes to bite Laudna. It hits a mirror image instead, and Laudna reaction casts Featherfall on the two of them, so they land softly. Fern is up. She casts Blade on the demon above FCG. Con save of 16 fails. It deals 38 damage. Mr. fires off more of its shit, dealing 5 damage on the same demon. 2 Vroks now appear. One tries to grab Ashen. Athletics check natural 20. Ashen resists. It then goes for an attack but misses. The other one lands near FCG. FCG is up. They shoot Sacred Flame at the demon above them for 4 more damage. FCG then tries to leave, and the demon attacks, hitting for 18 damage on FCG. Imogen is up. She drinks a healing potion, but it didn't seem to heal all that much, as Laura was very upset with the rolls. She looks up and doesn't see the demon, so she backs up from the tower and casts Psychic Lance. He saves, only taking 10 damage. She then moves back toward the building. Do Your Part is up. He moves toward the demons near Fern. He misses both of his strikes, however. Chetney is up. He dashes toward the tower. Ashen is up. He runs toward the big guy. The Vrok tries to grab him and succeeds in doing so with a natural 20. Ashen attacks it, hitting the first one, dealing 20 damage, and pushing it back 5 feet, breaking the grapple. They then run toward the big demon again. They get up to the upper level and smack the big demon, hitting for 22 damage. The demons are now up again, and the big guy jumps off toward Imogen and Laudna. Ashen and Orym get opportunity attacks. They both hit, 9 from Orym, 17 from Ashen. He lands in front of Imogen and Laudna. He claws at Imogen, dealing 10 damage. He claws again, dealing 18 damage. And the third attack is a bite, dealing 37 damage, knocking out Imogen. And he begins to chew on her a little bit. Its eyes meets Laudna's, and if she could, she rages. One of the demons attack Do Your Part. I wonder if that joke is getting old yet. And it moves up to FCG and attacks, dealing 9 damage. The imp on the tower says fuck this and dips out, as he sees it is just him and Ashen and Orym up there, and he knows that he is not going to survive that. Orym then jumps off the tower and rolls a 26 acrobatics check. He takes 22 damage from the fall, landing on top of the demon, plunging his sword into its back for 10 damage, and then stabs its ear hole with a natural 20 for 12 damage. This forces the demon to spit out Imogen. Laudna is up. She blights the demon. He saves it, so it takes 17 damage instead of what it was going to. Laudna then casts Shocking Grasp, but misses. Lana then stands over top of Imogen to shield her. Fern is up. She wild shapes into a shoe bill, and she flies past the demons near her, taking 12 damage as she goes by, but she keeps her form. She grabs FCG and flies 80 feet, and then drops off FCG. Mister is up. Mister shoots a flaming seed at one of the cages, but misses. The Vrox are now up. One flies to grab Ashton with a 19 check. Ashton is not grappled. It goes for another grab again, but can't seem to get a hold of Ashton. The Rock flies down to hit Do Your Part again, dealing 18 damage to him. FCG is up. They cast Healing Word on Imogen, waking her back up for 4 hit points. 4 is better than 0. They then shoot a bolt at the big demon, but fucking misses again. This bolt has never hit, I swear to God. Imogen is up. She's in great pain, but awake and alive. Imogen casts Shocking Grasp on the big demon, and finally Shocking Grasp hits with an 18, dealing 12 damage, so it's actually 6 damage. Imogen uses Quicken Spell to cast Invisibility on her and Laudna, and she runs from the demon. Do Your Part is up. He hits the demon near him twice, dealing 45 damage, and then on the second strike we didn't hear the exact number, but it was definitely more than 30, killing the demon in front of him, turning it to ash. He then runs toward the other, taking an attack from demon. He then runs toward the others, taking an attack from the Vrock nearby for 11 damage. Chetney is up. He runs up and grabs the sword that fell earlier. He then takes out Turmoil and casts Shatter at the perfect place to hit the demon, but not hit Orm, who is on top of the demon still. The demon saves, but takes 10 damage from it. Chetney continues to run and goes towards one of the cages. Inside is a half-elven girl with short hair and another soldier on the ground who seems to be injured. In the back of Chetney's head, he hears, "Rise in glory, take what you've taken, and together we will do great things." Yet again, Travis is taking a living goddamn weapon. I don't know how he continues to do this. Ashton is up. They take the leap of faith like Orm did. Acrobatics check of 9. They take 26 damage, half to 13, because barbarian. They smash the hammer down mid-fall onto the demon, but unfortunately it misses. The demon is a little too wise to this leaping attack now. They swing again, dealing 31 damage after they land. The demons are up. The big demon shimmers and teleports away. Orm falls from where it once was, taking some damage. The Vrox follow suit in fleeing, or attempting to flee. Orm is up. He moves after the demon as much as he can. Laudna then runs to FCG tells her to heal Imogen, that she's very hurt and invisible. Fern is up. She flies off after the big demon and drops Wild Shape after moving with full speed and casts Blight. He fails the Blight, dealing 38 damage, killing the demon. As he dies, he tells Fern that he'll find her and he'll kill her. The 2 Vrox then fly off, and Do Your Part relaxes. Fern asks who he is. He says there's no immediate danger right now. The rest call for Imogen and Laudna. Laudna and Chetney try to pick the locks of the cages. Ashton smashes the demonic circles around the area. Chetney picks the lock pretty easy, but Laudna has to use Ray of Frost to break the locks open like before. In the cages are 2 members of the Tempest Blades, and Bernie is also here, Orm's sister. Half-sister? No, sister-in-law. Orm runs up to Bernie, and they hug each other. He can feel her cry a bit into his shoulder. He sees her fear fade to a warmth and thankfulness. She said she knew that they would come, but she didn't think it would be Orm. He explains why he's there. The other soldiers were Bastion soldiers. The Horned Devil guy approaches. His name is Telvin Klask. He asks who the party are. They explain who they are to him, the Bell's Hells. They ask what he's doing here. He's a champion to his god. He is the retribution of the Hells. He asks who Fern's god is, and she says that she doesn't serve one. She's her own servant. They ask who his god is. He says Asmodeus. They ask if he's looking to help the gods. He says he's looking to help his god, but in some way that helps all of them. FGG says that they serve a god. Fern says that she met the matron of ravens once. Tevan doesn't like this. He says to enjoy the armistice while it lasts. They should not ask questions in the future. She asks what he gets from working for the gods, specifically Asmodeus. He says strength and purpose. He takes Fern's hand and kisses it. It burns a little bit, and on her knuckle, burnt into it, is a black-torn crown. Tevan tells her the path is open, and he'll help her if she accepts the terms. She agrees. He closes his hands around Fern's and smiles and says they'll meet again. He takes up his sword and tells the others that their leader is very wise and they still stand because of her. FGG asks where he'll go next. He says they might find out if they walk similar paths. He flies up and says the skies go red south. He thinks their destiny is intertwined, and flames take over him and he vanishes. The party talk about what just happened. FGG says that she just made a small promise. It's not that big of a deal. Ashen says one day she's going to wake up and something's going to be telling her it's time. FGG asks if they want to take a revote on helping the gods, as more of the Bell's House seem to be followers now. Lana asks what just happens. Orym says that's a good question and turns toward Bernie and asks what happened to them. Bernie heals herself as she has an injured shoulder. She says that she volunteered to come here to help the Tempest recover. They knew the Bastion was a point of safety, but they didn't know it had fallen. Some of the blades had fled from here. Some were slain and some were captured. I imagine the ones who fled were the ones they fought in the last episode. They were to be eaten at a feast for Exovast the Gluttonous. He followed, and excuse me for this name, Veruladin? I'm going to go with the first one I said. They're grateful that the party came and are unsure if they were the key for the feast or just a small part of it. The Ashari grabbed 2 backpacks. They were filled with blue flowers. Bernie says resting here is not a great idea, as everything that just transpired here. She asks if the party can travel today. The party asked if the 3 bags filled with the flowers are filled enough, as they had one as well. Bernie says yes. Chetney asks if the sword is anyone's. No one seems to claim it, so it's now Chetney's. He puts it in the bag of holding. They can't teleport yet. The staff is out of power, and Bernie doesn't have the level of expertise in Druid to tree walk or transport via plants. Bernie asks if they can contact the Ashari. They can't. Things are difficult right now. Bernie says it's not safe to camp here and wants the party to follow her. The soldiers give the other soldiers who died here and Ashari members who died here a funeral. They follow Bernie down the crevasse a bit. She waves her hand in front of the crevasse wall, and a small cavern is shaped. They enter it, and the door closes behind them. This is a safe place for them to rest now. They have collected enough flowers to heal the people in Zephyra, and this is where the episode ends. So, there you have it, episode 67 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. It was a fun one. I enjoy lots of combat, and this one had 2 combats. One was kind of short, and one was 3 hours fucking long, which is really fun and really easy for me to track down and make sure everything's correct. So, I enjoy this one a lot. I'm very excited to see what happens in the next one. I assume the only way they're going to be able to teleport back is if they get the staff working. So, if the staff doesn't recharge, they're going to be stuck here for a little while, but I imagine they're just going to rest for another full day and do nothing. Maybe they could go look for some more flowers, but for some reason I highly doubt they'll take that risk. They could, which would be another fun combat episode, but it'd definitely feel very fillery if they do that. So, who knows? Also, I do want to point out the checks that Matt was making behind the screen every time they made a joke about the flowers, because he made a single mistake and his players never let him forget what he said about the flowers. He called them the perennial flower, or the perennium flowers, which I guess is some sort of gooch reference. It's just gross. But he slipped on that in the last episode, so they didn't let him forget. So now, every time they made a joke about them, he would make a check, and he was adding temporary hit points to the demons, which is why the demons had so much fucking health, which is a perfectly fine punishment, in my opinion, for people constantly doing something, picking out the DM. So players, if you're listening, don't make fun of your DM for a simple Freudian slip. That's all. Anyway, this was a fun episode. Really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see where they go next. So yeah, see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.